They finally texted after no contact, and your heart is screaming, reply now. Stop. If you answer the old way, you hand them power again. In the next 15 seconds, I'm giving you the exact reply that flips the dynamic, protects your dignity, and makes them feel the difference immediately. Your phone lights up, and for a second, it feels like the last few weeks never happened, like the silence never swallowed you whole, like you didn't spend nights staring at a ceiling that refused to answer you back. It's just a small notification, a few words on a screen, but your body reacts like it's life or death. Your heart jumps, your stomach drops, your mind starts running faster than you can catch it. You tell yourself you're fine, you tell yourself you're healed, you tell yourself you don't care, but your hands already want to move, your thumbs already want to type, your nervous system already wants to sprint back to the place that used to feel like home, even when it was hurting you. And that's exactly why the first rule is simple, but it's not easy. You do not reply while you're craving. You do not reply while you're shaking. You do not reply while your chest is tight and your thoughts are begging for relief. Because in that moment, you are not answering a person, you are answering a wound. You are not speaking from strength, you are speaking from withdrawal. You are not choosing, you are reacting. Craving makes you romanticize what broke you. Craving makes you forget the tone of their absence, the way they disappeared without explanation, the way you questioned your value in the quiet, the way you replayed conversations and blamed yourself just to make the pain feel logical. Craving makes you send the kind of reply that sounds loving, but is really pleading. It makes you hand them your softness before they've even shown they can hold it. So, when that text arrives, you pause and you let the moment be what it is, a trigger, a test, a wave. You don't jump into the ocean just because you felt the water splash your feet. You don't run toward the same fire just because it warmed you once. You breathe slowly, like you're saving yourself because you are. You remind yourself no contact wasn't a game, it was a rescue. It was you choosing peace over panic, dignity over desperation, healing over the endless cycle of hoping and hurting. I want you to picture this. You see their name, or maybe you see a number you know by memory, and instantly your mind starts building a movie. Maybe they miss me. Maybe they changed. Maybe they finally realized. Maybe this is my moment. But you don't know that yet. A message is not a transformation. A message is not accountability. A message is not effort. A message is a knock on the door, and you do not swing the door open just because someone knocked. Not when they've proven they can walk away from you and leave you standing in the doorway alone. So, you do something powerful, something the old version of you didn't know how to do. You set the phone down, not as a punishment, not as manipulation, but as protection. You take your power back from the urgency. You remind yourself that urgency is how your old pattern controlled you. The fear of losing them, the fear of silence, the fear of being forgotten, it made you reply too fast, forgive too fast, explain too much, accept too little. And now you're changing the rhythm. Because when you reply immediately, you tell them, you still have instant access to me. Even if you don't say those words, your speed says it. Your speed says, I've been waiting. Your speed says, I'm still here in the same place you left me. Your speed says, you can vanish and return, and I'll still respond like you never hurt me. And that is not love. That is a nervous system trying to calm itself by reaching for the person who caused the chaos in the first place. Calm is different. Calm doesn't rush. Calm doesn't scramble for the perfect words. Calm doesn't ask, how do I win them back? Calm asks, what do I need to stay safe? Calm asks, what is true? Calm asks, am I responding because I want to or because I'm afraid not to? Calm is not cold. Calm is clear. Calm is the version of you that can finally see the whole picture, not just the highlight reel your heart plays when it misses them. So you give yourself time, real time. An hour, a few hours, a day if you need it. You let your body come down from the adrenaline, you drink water, you eat something small, you step outside and let air hit your face. You take a walk without your phone in your hand because you're trying to teach your heart that you can survive a feeling without acting on it. You breathe in for 4, You hold for 4, you breathe out for 6, and you do it again until your chest loosens, until your thoughts slow down enough to hear your own wisdom underneath them. Then you do the hardest part. You tell yourself the truth. You say, if they cared the way I needed, I wouldn't have needed no contact. You say, if they were consistent, I wouldn't have spent nights confused. You say, if they were ready, they wouldn't have disappeared. You don't say this to become bitter, you say it to become sober, because love without sobriety becomes a trap. It becomes a loop of hope and hurt, and you didn't climb out of that just to fall back in because of one message. And once you're calm, you look at their text again and you read it like a grown person, not like a starving heart. Is it meaningful? Is it accountable? Is it specific? Is it respectful? Or is it vague, casual, convenient? Is it, I've been thinking about what happened. I want to talk. I'm sorry. I'm ready to do this differently. Or is it, hey, Wade, miss you. A little hook thrown into the water to see if you'll bite. When you're calm, you can tell the difference. When you're craving, you turn anything into a sign. This is where you become someone new. You stop being an emotional emergency room, open 24/7 for someone who only visits when it suits them. You stop being the person who treats breadcrumbs like a feast. You become the person who replies from standards, not from longing. And the wild part is, you don't even have to be fully healed to do this. You just have to be willing to respect yourself for 5 more minutes than you used to. Because 5 minutes becomes an hour becomes a day becomes a new identity, and suddenly you're not the person who collapses at the first ping. You're the person who breathes, who waits, who chooses, who remembers what they survived, who understands that love is not proven by a text. It's proven by consistency, by effort, by patience, by the way someone shows up when it's not easy, when it costs them something. And when you finally do reply, you reply as someone who is calm enough to be honest, calm enough to be clear, calm enough to protect what you rebuilt in the silence, calm enough to not trade your healing for a temporary high, calm enough to remember that the goal was never to get a message. The goal was to get your life back, your peace back, your self-respect back, and you don't hand that back over just because your phone lit up again. When they text you after no contact, it feels like the universe is tapping you on the shoulder, like the story is finally turning, like everything you suffered might suddenly make sense. Your heart wants to believe this is the apology, the awakening, the return. But if you've learned anything from the silence, it's this. Words can be warm and still be empty. Words can sound sweet and still lead you back to the same loneliness. Words can arrive at midnight and disappear by morning, leaving you holding hope like a burning coal. That's why the third rule matters more than anything. Actions are the price of re-entry, not promises, not I miss you, not I've been thinking, not a long paragraph that sounds emotional but changes nothing. Because after no contact, the real question isn't, can they text? The real question is, can they show up? Can they be consistent when it's not convenient? Can they be present when it requires effort? Can they handle the responsibility of your heart without treating it like something they can pick up and put down whenever they feel like it? I want you to remember how it felt before no contact, the way you tried to communicate and still ended up confused, the way you explained your pain and watched them go quiet, the way they would pull you close, then pull away, and you would sit there trying to understand what you did wrong, trying to fix a problem you didn't create. The way you became a detective in your own relationship, reading between lines, studying tone, waiting for breadcrumbs, calling it patience, when it was really emotional starvation. No contact wasn't you being dramatic. It was you being honest. It was you finally admitting that love isn't supposed to make you feel disposable. It was you finally deciding that if someone wants access to you, they need to meet you with more than convenience. So, when they return, you don't punish them and you don't melt. You don't say, prove it, like you're trying to win a fight. You simply raise the standard of reality. You make it clear with calm strength that words are not enough anymore, that you're not entering another cycle where their mood decides your peace. Because if you accept words as the apology, you will end up back in the same place, waiting for behavior to catch up. And behavior rarely catches up when it's never required to. People repeat what they can get away with. And if your heart has always been the soft landing for their inconsistency, they will keep falling into it, not because they're evil, but because you made it easy. So now you do the brave thing. You make it a little harder. Not hard in a cruel way, hard in a healthy way. Like a locked door that only opens for someone with the right key, like a home that doesn't let strangers walk in and rearrange the furniture of your soul. This is what it looks like in real life. They text, "I miss you." And your heart wants to answer, "I miss you too." Because it's true. But truth without protection becomes a trap. So you respond with something steady, something that doesn't deny your feelings, but doesn't give them access without effort. You say, "I hear you. If you want to rebuild, I'm open to a conversation about how that would look and what would be different this time." And then you watch. Not what they say next, what they do next. Do they suggest a real time to talk, or do they keep it vague? Do they show up when they say they will, or do they vanish again? Do they take responsibility, or do they make excuses? Do they ask what you need, or do they focus on what they want? Do they talk about change like a feeling, or do they talk about change like a plan? Because real change has structure. Real change has humility. Real change doesn't need you to chase it. It doesn't need you to beg for it. It doesn't need you to remind them every week that you deserve basic respect. Real change arrives with consistency. It arrives with follow through. It arrives with, "I'm here and I'm not disappearing when this gets real." So you set a simple standard and you keep it. You don't negotiate it when you're lonely. You don't rewrite it when they sound emotional. You don't drop it because they finally use the words you've been waiting to hear. You let your standard be the thing that protects your future. Maybe you say, "I'm willing to take things slowly, but I need consistency. I need clear communication. If we're going to reconnect, it can't be on and off. It can't be hot and cold. If you're serious, show me with your actions over time." And then here's the part that feels terrifying. You don't reward the bare minimum. You don't celebrate a single phone call like it erases months of confusion. You don't let one good day buy them access to you on the bad days. You let consistency build trust, brick by brick, not fireworks, not grand speeches, not emotional floods, just quiet proof. Because the deepest pain you went through wasn't just missing them, it was missing yourself. It was the way you abandoned your own needs to keep the connection alive. It was the way you swallowed disappointment so you wouldn't look too needy. It was the way you accepted uncertainty because you were afraid that requiring more would push them away. But requiring more is not what pushes away the right person. It only pushes away the wrong behavior. And if someone can only love you when you accept less, they are not loving you. They are benefiting from you. So you make actions the price. You let effort be the language. You let time reveal truth. You don't rush into closeness just because you missed it. You don't hand them emotional intimacy before they've shown emotional responsibility. You don't give them the comfort of your presence while they're still deciding whether they want to keep you. And when they try to pull you back into the old pattern, the late night texts, the vague "we'll see," the disappearing acts followed by "I've been busy," you don't fight, you don't beg, you don't lecture, you simply step back again. You protect your peace again. You say, "I meant what I said. I'm not available for inconsistency." That sentence might feel like it's breaking something, and it is. It's breaking the illusion that they can come and go. It's breaking the habit of you being endlessly patient while your heart slowly bleeds. It's breaking the pattern that taught them they could do the minimum and still keep you. And here's the most powerful truth. If they are serious, they won't be offended by your standard. They will respect it. They will rise to it. They will feel the weight of what they almost lost. And instead of testing you, they will choose you with actions, not just words. And if they are not serious, if they only wanted comfort, if they only wanted to see if you were still there, then your standard will make them fade. And that will hurt, yes, but it will hurt cleanly. It will hurt once instead of hurting you in circles for months because you didn't go through no contact just to be the same person again. You went through it to become someone who does not trade self-respect for a message, someone who does not confuse attention with commitment, someone who understands that the right love won't ask you to beg for basic effort. So let them text, let them miss you, let them feel the absence they created. But do not hand them your heart because they knocked. Make them earn the key, slowly, consistently, through actions that match their words. And if they can't, then what you're losing is not love. It's a pattern, and what you're gaining is your life back. You finally breathe again after no contact, not perfectly, not every day, but enough to remember what peace feels like. You start waking up without that heavy knot in your stomach. You start going hours without checking your phone. You start feeling like you're returning to yourself. And then it happens, the message arrives. Simple, casual, almost innocent, like nothing ever broke, like nothing ever cost you your sleep. And in that moment, the old version of you wants to pour everything out, the pain, the longing, the questions, the love, the anger, the hope, all at once, because you think if you explain it well enough, they'll finally understand, and if they understand, they'll finally change. But this is where you have to remember something that can save your heart. Clarity is not cruelty, a boundary is not bitterness, and a calm direction is not a threat. It is the language of self-respect. It is you stepping out of chaos and into truth, you stepping out of the role of available anytime and into the role of available only for something real. Because after no contact, your reply is not just a reply, it's a signal. It tells them who you are now. It tells them what kind of access you allow. It tells them whether the door to you is a revolving door or a door that opens only for intention and effort. And if you don't choose your words with clarity, your silence will have done all the hard work, and your message will undo it in seconds. I know what your heart wants to do. Your heart wants to say, I missed you so much. I'm so happy you texted. I've been waiting. Please don't leave again. Tell me you're serious. Your heart wants reassurance. Your heart wants safety. Your heart wants to believe that the story is turning around. But your heart has been living off crumbs for too long, and crumbs teach your nervous system to celebrate the bare minimum as if it's a miracle. So this is where you do something different. You refuse to be vague, because vague is where you got hurt. Vague is where you were left guessing, decoding, waiting, overthinking, blaming yourself, wondering if you were too much or not enough. Vague is where they could come close and disappear again without accountability, because nothing was ever defined. Nothing was ever named. Nothing was ever agreed upon. You were just hoping, and hope without clarity becomes a cage. That's why your reply needs 3 things, and it needs them in this order: calm, boundary, direction. Calm so you don't sound like you're begging or punishing. Boundary so they understand your availability has limits now. Direction so they know exactly what it would take to rebuild and exactly what won't work anymore. Because a boundary without direction sounds like rejection. And you're not trying to play games. You're trying to end them. You're trying to make it impossible for confusion to live here again. You're trying to create a path that only a serious person would walk. So you don't say, "Why did you text me?" You don't say, "You hurt me so much." You don't say, "I'm never talking to you again." Not because those feelings aren't real, they are real and they matter, but because your first message isn't a diary. It's a doorway, and you decide what kind of person gets to step through. You say something like this and you mean it even if your heart is trembling while you type it. I saw your message. I'm open to a real conversation if you're serious about rebuilding. If you want that, be clear with me. If you're just checking in or you're not sure what you want, I'm not available for that. Do you hear what that does? It doesn't attack, it doesn't chase, it doesn't collapse, it doesn't invite nonsense, it invites clarity. Because if they truly want you, clarity won't scare them. If they truly miss you in a meaningful way, clarity won't push them away. If they are ready to show up, they will step into the conversation with respect. They will respond with specifics, not smoke. They will respond with intention, not comfort seeking. But if they were only texting to see if you're still there, only texting because their ego missed being wanted, only texting because something else didn't work out, only texting because they felt lonely for one night and they know your heart used to be an easy home, then your clarity will feel like pressure to them. Your boundary will feel like a wall. And that's when you learn the truth, not from what they say, but from what they avoid. This is the part that's heartbreaking and liberating. When you require clarity, some people disappear, not because you did something wrong, but because they were never offering you something real. They were offering you a moment. They were offering you the feeling of being desired without the responsibility of choosing you. They were offering you an emotional snack, not a relationship. And your old self would have accepted it because it felt better than nothing. Your new self understands that something small can still steal your peace. So, you hold the line gently, firmly. You don't argue. You don't debate. You don't try to persuade them into being ready. You don't try to educate them into being consistent. You don't hand them a paragraph to hide behind. You give them a clear path and you watch what they do with it. If they respond with vagueness, I don't know, I was just thinking about you. You don't rush to fill the gap. You don't say, okay, we can figure it out, because that puts you back in the role of carrying the relationship. You say calmly, I understand. If you want to talk seriously about rebuilding, I'm open to that. If not, I wish you well. And you stop. You let your message be complete. You don't add a second text to soften it. You don't add a third to explain it. You don't chase your own boundary. You let them feel the weight of it because this is what you never allowed them to feel before. You always rescued them from consequences. You always made it easy for them to return without repairing anything. You always turned your pain into a conversation starter instead of a standard. And I know that sounds scary because part of you still fears the silence. Part of you still fears that if you don't grab this chance, you'll lose them forever. But listen closely. If you have to abandon yourself to keep someone, you were never being loved. You were being used. And the person meant for you will never require you to shrink your standards to stay in their life. This is what your clarity does. It protects your heart from false hope. It protects you from the late night I miss you that disappears by morning. It protects you from the half return that resets your healing back to day one. It protects you from the cycle that makes you doubt your worth every time they pull away. And it also gives them a real opportunity, not an easy one, but a real one, to show up differently. Because if they do want to rebuild, your clarity makes the path clean. It makes the next step obvious. It turns romance into reality. It forces the conversation out of fantasy and into truth. It tells them, I'm not here to be confused. I'm here to be chosen. And when you choose words like that, you're not just replying to a message. You're rewriting the story of your life. You're telling the universe and your own heart that you are no longer available for the version of love that costs you your peace, that costs you your self-respect, that costs you your sleep. You are available for something honest, something consistent, something real, and anything less can stay outside the door.